human traffickers. It's a tremendous problem. My fellow Americans, tonight I am speaking to you because there is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border. Every day, Customs and Border Patrol agents encounter thousands of illegal immigrants trying to enter our country. We are out of space to hold them, and we have no way to promptly return them back home to their country. America proudly welcomes millions of lawful immigrants who enrich our society and contribute to our nation. But all Americans are hurt by uncontrolled illegal migration. It strains public resources and drives down jobs and wages. Among those hardest hit are African Americans and Hispanic Americans. Our southern border is a pipeline.
African American, so he pulls the race card. All right. African Americans, as in Americans that were born in Africa? Is that what he means?
For vast quantities of illegal drugs, including meth, heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl. Every week, 300 of our citizens are killed by heroin alone, 90% of which floods across from our southern border. More Americans will die from drugs this year than were killed in the entire Vietnam War. In the last 2 years, ICE officers made 266,000 arrests of aliens with criminal records, including those charged or convicted of 100,000 assaults, 30,000 sex crimes, and 4,000 violent killings.
So now, basically, he plays the numbers game. He knows that most of his followers are generally lazy. They will not do any research to look into these numbers and try to understand what he's saying. They will just be dazzled by these high numbers, thousands of this and 2,000 that, and then, dangerous killers and just scary words, I think this will be very effective for his loyal followers. But for the rest of us, pretty weak.
Over the years, thousands of Americans have been brutally killed by those who illegally entered our country, and thousands more lives will be lost if we don't act right now. This is a humanitarian crisis, a crisis of the heart and a crisis of the soul. Last month, 20,000 migrant children were illegally brought into the United States, a dramatic increase. These children are used as human pawns by vicious coyotes and ruthless gangs. 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted on the dangerous trek up through Mexico. Women and children are the biggest victims, by far, of our broken system. This is the tragic reality of illegal immigration on our southern border. This is the cycle of human suffering that I am determined to end. My administration has presented Congress with a detailed proposal to secure the border and stop the criminal gangs, drug smugglers, and human traffickers. It's a tremendous problem. Our proposal was developed by law enforcement professionals and border agents at the Department of Homeland Security.
I'm sure it was.
These are the resources they have requested to properly perform their mission and keep America safe. In fact, safer than ever before. The proposal from Homeland Security includes cutting-edge technology for detecting drugs, weapons, illegal contraband, and many other things. We have requested more agents, immigration judges, and bed space to process the sharp rise in unlawful migration fueled by our very strong economy. Our plan also contains an urgent request for humanitarian assistance and medical support. Furthermore, we have asked Congress to close border security loopholes so that illegal immigrant children can be safely and humanely returned back home. Finally, as part of an overall approach to border security, law enforcement professionals have requested $5.7 billion for a physical barrier. At the request of Democrats, it will be a steel barrier rather than a concrete wall. This barrier is absolutely critical to border security. It's also what our professionals at the border want and need. This is just common sense. The border wall would very quickly pay for itself. The cost of illegal drugs exceeds $500 billion a year, vastly more than the $5.7 billion we have requested from Congress. The wall will also be paid for indirectly by the great new trade deal we have made with Mexico. Senator Chuck Schumer, who you will be hearing from later tonight, has repeatedly supported a physical barrier in the past, along with many other Democrats. They changed their mind only after I was elected president. Democrats in Congress have refused to acknowledge the crisis, and they have refused to provide our brave border agents with the tools they desperately need to protect our families and our nation. The federal government remains shut down for one reason, and one reason only, because Democrats will not fund border security. My administration is doing everything in our power to help those impacted by the situation. But the only solution is for Democrats to pass a spending bill that defends our borders and reopens the government. This situation could be solved in a 45-minute meeting. I have invited congressional leadership to the White House tomorrow to get this done. Hopefully, we can rise above partisan politics in order to support national security. Some have suggested a barrier is immoral. Then why do wealthy politicians build walls, fences, and gates around their homes? They don't build walls because they hate the people on the outside, but because they love the people on the inside. The only thing that is immoral is the politicians to do nothing and continue to allow more innocent people to be so horribly victimized. America's heart broke the day after Christmas when a young police officer in California was savagely murdered in cold blood by an illegal alien who just came across the border. The life of an American hero was stolen by someone who had no right to be in our country. Day after day, precious lives are cut short by those who have violated our borders. In California, an Air Force veteran was raped, murdered, and beaten to death with a hammer by an illegal alien with a long criminal history. In Georgia, an illegal alien was recently charged with murder for killing, beheading, and dismembering his neighbor. In Maryland, MS-13 gang members who arrived in the United States as unaccompanied minors were arrested and charged last year after viciously stabbing and beating a 16-year-old girl. Over the last several years, I've met with dozens of families whose loved ones were stolen by illegal immigration. I've held the hands of the weeping mothers and embraced the grief-stricken fathers. So sad, so terrible. I will never forget the pain in their eyes, the tremble in their voices, and the sadness gripping their souls. How much more American blood must we shed before Congress does its job? For those who refuse to compromise in the name of border security, I would ask, imagine if it was your child your husband, or your wife, whose life was so cruelly shattered and totally broken. To every member of Congress, pass a bill that ends this crisis. To every citizen, call Congress and tell them to finally, after all of these decades, secure our border. This is a choice between right and wrong, justice and injustice. This is about whether we fulfill our sacred duty to the American citizens we serve. When I took the oath of office, I swore to protect our country, and that is what I will always do. So help me God. Thank you and good night.
It didn't really give us any new information and played a lot of games as far as, throwing numbers around and, this person got killed and that person got killed. And, what would you do if this was your loved one? Now, out of context, it may sound very compelling, but the reality is a lot more violence occurs committed by Americans, right? Look at the school shootings and just in general, America is a very violent country. We have a lot of problems with violence here, and most of that is caused by our citizens. So the basic logic is, if the real concern is about safeguarding American citizens, making this country safer, protecting American citizens, then it would make more sense to be, going so aggressively against the things that are really hurting us, against the things that are really a source of violence. Like, what makes America a violent country? It's not illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants are not the reason why this is a violent country, right? So if he really is being honest and is really concerned about our safety, then he'll be focusing on gun violence and, in general, crime in this country. But instead of doing that, he's making the focus all about illegal aliens. So basically what he did was pretty simple, pretty sort of juvenile. Go around and scour records and try to find any, bad or gruesome or horrific incident that was perpetrated by an illegal immigrant, and then highlight it like, oh, this guy got killed and that guy got killed. So in essence, if you can find 5 people that were, hurt by an illegal immigrant, you highlight that. So you have 5 people that were hurt by illegal immigrants, and then you have 10,000 hurt by American citizens, right? And you try to use those 5 people as a justification for shutting down the government. Right? So all these American workers that aren't getting paid because the government shut down, TSA workers are not out there, so we're at greater risk for, having an incident, whether it's hijacking or whatever it is, right? TSA is there for a reason, right? To keep us safe in the sky. So he's actually putting us at risk right now. We are actually at greater risk right now because of what he's doing with the government, again, taking away from TSA security. And the reason why he's putting us at risk right now is so that we can stop the 5 people that got killed. We can stop that from happening while ignoring thousands of others being killed by our own citizens. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Clearly, all he's doing is saying whatever he needs to say to support what he's trying to do. He wants the wall built. I think we all know why he wants the wall built, and it's not for our safety, but he wants the wall built, right? And in order to do that, he needs to paint a picture that is terrifying enough that people can say, wow, this is crazy. This is a crisis. We've really got to secure our borders, right? He's got to paint a picture that people will get, sufficiently motivated to get an emotional response where they'll be like, yes, do it, give them the money, right? So that's the whole point of this. And his strategy, again, was to simply highlight anything he could find. Dig and dig and dig. An illegal alien stepped on a chicken. Yes, you see, we've got to get these guys out of the country. They're even stepping on our chickens. An illegal alien, he quit his job without sending in a resignation letter, or he didn't pay his taxes last year. We found that 50 illegal aliens didn't pay their taxes last year. When are we going to put a stop to this? Now I'm being obviously a little bit facetious. He did find some incidents that were pretty severe, but the point is, they pale in comparison to the real dangers and real threats. Once again, this is a very violent country, and a majority of the violence comes from our citizens, not from illegal aliens. The amount of crimes that these dangerous, scary illegal aliens are doing are nothing in comparison to what is being done by our own people. So why isn't he talking about the school shootings? Why isn't he talking about our problem in this country in terms of violence in general? Right? Why is he not focusing on the issues that are predominantly the reason for a lot of the violence in this country? Why is he not focusing on the real issues? Nothing he said had any significant weight in context. Remember, this is not a governor. This is not a senator. This is the President of the United States of America. His mandate is national. Right? So being the case, his focus should be on national issues. In other words, if you're focused on security and keeping the country safe, keeping our citizens safe, it would be logical as a national leader to focus on the biggest risks. What is the biggest source of violent crimes in this country? It's not illegal aliens, not by any measure. Right? So logically, the only reason why he would choose to focus on those isolated incidents is because he's doing anything to make people believe that there's a big crisis, to justify giving him the money so he can build his wall. Say anything to get the wall. That's what he's doing. It's not logical. It doesn't really make sense. But it's what he feels he needs to say to get the wall. So why does he want the wall? Why is he willing to go through all of this for the wall, the barrier, the planks, the plane? Sorry. Well, probably because he got elected saying, we're going to build a wall. That was a major part of his campaign, talking about securing the borders. We're going to build a wall. Trump basically wants a win. He refuses to accept the consequences for lying to the American people. we're going to build a wall and Mexico will pay for it. We will build a wall and Mexico will pay for it. It's going to be a concrete wall. Who cares what it's going to be built out of? A reporter made a point of that. Who cares what it's going to be built out of? The point is, he wants to build a wall. And the more important detail is, Mexico will pay for it. But Mexico's not paying for the wall, are they? But Trump's supporters don't care, do they? But ultimately, Trump just does not want to accept responsibility for lying to the American people. So now he's trying to save face by being able to, I said I was going to build the wall and I built the wall. But what about Mexico paying for it? Never mind that. That's just words. Those are just words. Right. Anyway, this is the Computer Programming University. This is Off Topic Tuesdays. What's going on, CKKO? Good to see you, man. Off Topic Tuesdays, I will talk about the Fox, Rick, or actually talk about, whatever I see that is going on that I feel like I want to talk about. So something that is of interest to me. So this whole craziness of this wall is something that was of interest to me. It's kind of bizarre, and I wanted to share my thoughts on that. So for my final words on the matter, this is the way I look at it. And these are the things that I see that no one's really addressing. I see a lot of back and forth and people talking about this, and there's certain things that I don't see people addressing. This is the way I look at the situation. Number one, people saying, we need to get Trump impeached. You get Trump impeached, and then what? Remove Trump for the next, how can I put it? Remove Trump for the next Joker. Right? I say Trump is not the problem. How did Trump get into office in the first place? That's the problem. In this country, I think we're too short-sighted. I don't like Trump. Trump is this and Trump is he's such an idiot. Oh, Trump. This wall and he said this and he said that. Valid points. All valid points. Right? However, those are the symptoms. We need to stop focusing on the symptoms, because as long as the problem continues to exist, there will always be more symptoms. You are sick with a disease, a terrible disease, and one of the symptoms is that you sweat a lot. And all you're talking about is how hot I am. I'm so hot. I'm sweaty. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. That's Trump. So what do you want? Get an air condition. Wear more cool or cooler clothing. That's not going to cure the disease. You can get the air condition and get cooler and perhaps maybe even address the sweating, but you still have the disease. So there'll be other symptoms. Stop worrying about who the president is. Stop worrying about which party is in control. Republicans, Democrats, symptoms. Focus on the real problem. Survival of the fittest, good to see you, man. So focus on the real problem. How is it that Donald Trump was able to be elected in the first place? How about we talk about that? How is it that Donald Trump was able to get elected to be the most powerful man supposedly in the world? President of the United States of America, this powerful country, with all of our wealth and technology and all that this country stands for, how can what others would describe as a bumbling idiot like Donald Trump, who consistently lies, how can he be elected president? A guy who, part of his legacy is discriminating against brown-skinned tenants during his real estate days. I don't remember the details of that, but it was some kind of discrimination. Maybe he didn't want to rent to minorities. And you have the supporters who say, why are you saying he's racist? Well, I think that's an example of being racist, right? Not wanting to rent to people because of their skin color. That's Trump. The guy who talks about immigrants and we need to keep these immigrants out of here, but meanwhile, his ties are made in China. And he's got illegal immigrants working at his hotels. Right? But again, we're talking about Trump. Forget about Trump. How did he get elected? You mean to tell me in the United States of America, Trump, Donald Trump, that's the best that we could produce? Harvard University, MIT, all these top universities. All these graduates that know so much and have their degrees, went to a top school. All these CEOs we have leading these major global corporations based in the United States of America. All that we've done, one of the greatest militaries in the world, all that we've accomplished, and the best that we could do is to elect a reality TV star. And it's not about that he was a reality TV star, but he really was and is a reality TV star. He's not presidential in any way. So the real problem is the system that allows this to happen. The system that allows Trump, before he was president, to control the government by buying politicians. You've got enough money, you basically pay off these politicians to get your ways. Trump admitted this, that he was basically pulling the strings of these politicians. He would give them large sums of money to get into office, and then when he calls them up, they do what he tells them. That's corruption. The election process is corrupt. It's broken. Our education system is broken. And I think addressing these two things alone can have massive benefits to allow us to avoid having these kinds of things happening again. And I'll tell you about the education system. Trump is not an alien. Any president that we've ever had, they're not aliens. They're people, they're citizens of this country. How we educate our citizens is going to have a direct effect on the selection of the best of the best people that we can choose to put in the office. If our education system is failing, then our selection of top people to be president is not going to be that good. And the other part of it is, if our education system is not what it should be, and it's not, then you have a mass of people that lack critical thinking skills. You have a mass of people that are easy to control. Somebody like Donald Trump can go and dazzle them with words, and we're going to build a wall and this and that, and I'm going to be the jobs president, I'm going to be this, and he can say all kinds of things that may not make sense. He can say A today and B tomorrow and C the next day and get away with it if you have a population that is not educated sufficiently to be able to think for themselves. The more educated your people are, your citizens are, the more equipped they will be to be able to make good choices in who they choose to lead. The better our education system is, the better selection of people we will have to actually put in office. So that's the number one thing. That's the one thing that I think is that people are missing. But here's the other thing. So let me wrap this up with this wall situation. So everyone's talking about the wall, how much it costs, and it's going to be effective, it's not going to be effective, blah, blah, blah. Listen, let's break it down. $5 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to be asking for when I'm pretty sure the average citizen in this country are not even clear on what it is the money is for. Ask the average citizen, ask a friend, ask someone you know, what is the $5 billion for? And the most you're probably going to get is a wall. You try to ask for more details, you'll hear things about, oh, it's going to be at the border, it's kind of like it's a metal thing, it might be concrete, and all this kind of stuff. That's problematic. $5 billion is a lot of money to be asking the United States citizens to spend without them being extremely clear on what they are getting. Number one, how big will the wall be? Show me a diagram. The wall will go from here to there. I don't want assumptions. I don't want what people think. I want to know for a fact. I want to hear it from the White House exactly how big this wall will be. What is the beginning and ending of the proposed wall that we want $5 billion for? That's very basic. Basic information. How big will the wall be? Then details. As much details on the makeup of the wall. How tall will it be? What will it be made out of? Do we have some diagrams? Is it something that, like, there's a company that builds walls and there's a catalog and we've already selected the type of wall that we want? Can we see some pictures? It may not be the exact one, but, you know, these are the types of walls that we're looking at. Let's get an idea of that. Also, who's going to build this wall? Who's going to build? Do we have a company that's already has the contract to build the wall? Where is this money coming from? In terms of, they said $5 billion. Where did that number come from? Break it down. The price, this is the type of wall we're building. The materials cost for this wall, we need to get 200,000 planks. You know, this is the height of them, this is the depth, whatever. We need 200,000 of them. That's going to be 2.5 billion. I apologize. The actual construction of the wall is going to cost about 2 billion. So to construct the wall, it's 2 billion because there's going to be a crew of 500 workers. They're either going to be using trucks or just as much details as possible. How can you authorize or support the spending of $5 billion when the average citizen in this country is not even clear on the specifics of the wall? How irresponsible of a country are we to be sitting here debating and talking about this wall, and we're not even clear on the details of the wall? So if you're against the wall, how can you be against the wall? How can you challenge the wall if you don't even know what the wall is? Right? What exactly is this wall, and what are we expecting this wall to accomplish? Some people say, oh, they can go over or under the wall. Good point. But is that something that's going to be addressed by the type of wall that we're using? We don't know, because we don't have details. So you can't even challenge whether the wall is going to be effective or not, because you don't even know the details of the wall. Again, I think we have this tendency to be distracted and focus on the wrong things. And one of the reasons for that is because the majority of us are followers. You log on to Facebook, you turn on the news, and you hear whatever the conversation is, and then you jump into the conversation, you insert yourself in the conversation, you have your point of view of the conversation, but you're talking about what people are talking about. I don't think that's the way to be. Because then you have everyone doing the same thing, thinking about the same thing, and that means that there's other things, potentially, that are being missed. You got to be able to see a conversation and be able to listen to it, analyze it, and then run with it. And by doing so, being able to say, wait a minute, hey, why is no one asking about this? Or what about this other thing? But that's not what people do. It's like there's an argument going on. Some people are saying A, others are saying B. And then you jump in and you say, I think A is better. Oh, I think B is better. What about C? You would never know about C, because the way most people think, again, follow the leader. Everybody wants to follow. Few want to lead. Followers will look at what is being discussed, point A and point B, and pick a side. Leaders will look at both points, make an assessment, analyze the situation, and come up with what they think is the best answer, which may or may not be A or B. So you think it's better to walk up the hill. The other person says it's better to run up the hill because you get up there faster. The faster you get up there, you can get up there before you run out of energy. If you walk, it'll take you longer, so you might run out of energy before you get to the top of the hill. That's the argument. The average person looks at both of those solutions and picks one. A leader, like myself, I will hear both sides, but then I think to myself, so walking up the hill or running up the hill? Why are those the only two options? Can you drive up the hill? And you see, when you think that way, that is how you can come up with solutions that others do not. That is how you can identify flaws in a conversation, like I did with this situation. Everyone's talking about the wall. You're for the wall or against the wall. but hardly anyone's talking about what is the wall. $5 billion. Government shut down for a wall that the average United States citizen doesn't even know what it is. And I didn't even get into further logistics, and that's something that Survival and Fitness knows about. How long will the wall take to be constructed? When will they start constructing this wall? I know he's been playing games and talking about it's already being built or whatever, but he's really talking about existing walls being maintained. But we would want to know, when are you going to start the construction? When is it anticipated to be complete? Details. How are you going to sit down and authorize a $5 billion expenditure without knowing the details behind what it is you're paying for? That doesn't make sense. Those are my thoughts. This is Computer Programming University. This is Off Topic Tuesday, where it's free for all. I pretty much talk about whatever I feel like talking about. And I like that freedom. Every other day, we talk about computer programming. Python is my favorite language, so that's the focus here mostly. But also, I do scripting tutorials as well. Shout out to my top subscribers, Igor, CKKO, Nick, and MJ Shahid, and also Mega Noob. And I hope everyone is having a great week. And until the next episode, remember, this is a Computer Programming University where learning is fun, as it should be, and the first step here is to smile.
Click subscribe, then click the bell. Click the bell, because you don't want to miss out on more awesome content that I'll be posting soon right here on this channel. Welcome aboard. Buongiorno, salut, bienvenidos, hasta luego todos. I'm so excited that you decided to join the team so we can learn together, grow together, and achieve our dreams. Let's do it. See you soon. Grazie. Learn. We gonna do some learn.